Brian Zinchuk. I'm with Pipeline News based in Estevan. I understand you're here to talk about energy and geothermal energy. There's been a lot of concern in Saskatchewan, specifically about conventional coal. We've been asking for an equivalency agreement which will allow the province to continue operating some conventional units for longer. I understand it's possible there may have been an agreement gazetted in recent days, and if not, can you speak to that, as well as maybe perhaps the role that geothermal, that DEEP is working on, plays in all this?
First of all, we were very pleased to announce this morning that Saskatchewan and the federal government have come to an agreement on coal equivalency. It's important. I think we all understand that we need to phase out coal as an energy source, and we'll be doing that by 2030. But it's also extremely important that we're supporting the workers and their families who are in that industry now. And that agreement that we've come to with Saskatchewan will allow for exactly that. The announcement we're making today is a great example of exactly how the expertise that folks have developed here in Saskatchewan, indeed across the country in our resource sector, is an integral part of how we move forward. We wouldn't, as Kirsten said, wouldn't have known about the renewable resource we're going to begin to draw on to benefit people in Saskatchewan in the coming months and years, were it not for the oil industry. We need to build on the expertise and the hard work that people have done to find better solutions as we move forward. That's what folks in Saskatchewan want for their families, for their kids, their grandkids. That's what we want for our communities, and that's exactly the kinds of things we're going to keep innovating with and working on together.
And I guess a follow-up here, sir, is that almost every oil patch community in the past month has had some sort of rally or convoy pass through it, protesting your government's energy policy, specifically that Energy East was killed, that there's a tanker ban, conventional coal is also part of that. And in Estevan, it took less than 48 hours to organize a convoy, 15 kilometers long with 427 units. How do you respond to that?
First of all, I understand the concerns that folks in the energy industry in the prairies, in Alberta and Saskatchewan and elsewhere have about the softening price of oil and the differential between what we're the price we get in Canada and the price in the United States. That is primarily, I mean, there's lots of factors that go into it, from refinery shutdowns to global context, but the primary reason is that we are prisoners of the United States market for our oil resources from the oil sands. We do not have access to markets other than the United States, and that's why moving forward in the right way on the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion is a priority for this government. It's why when the proponent was wanting to drop the project, the federal government stepped in so that we can ensure that the project continues to move forward in the right way. That is the focus we have, because we know that getting our resources to new markets has been a long-standing request and need of the oil industry in the oil sands. Unfortunately, the previous government had an approach that said, if you marginalize further Indigenous peoples and if you ignore the science, you'll be able to get things done quicker. They failed. That's not the way to get resources built. Anyone who's promising that you can snap your fingers and build a pipeline doesn't understand that that's not the way we do things anymore in Canada, nor should it be. 100 years ago and more, when we were laying down railroads across this country, nobody checked with Indigenous people to see whether we could have permission or partnership to do it. We have now changed as a country. We know we need to move forward in thoughtful ways, in partnership, so that the benefits are shared, so that the risks are minimized, so that ordinary people can know that we're being thoughtful about the environmental and long-term consequences of the choices we're making. That is the approach we're taking, because not only do we think it's the right way to get energy projects built and to new markets, we think it's the only way to get energy projects to new markets. So when the Federal Court of Appeal decision came down, people were disappointed in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but I was disappointed as well. because we had done more on consultations and more on environmental science than the previous government had, and we thought we got it right, but the Federal Court of Appeal said, no, we need to do a little bit more. But they gave us a blueprint in order to do that and get it done in the right way. And we are following that blueprint because we know how important it is to get our resources to new markets, and that's why we're continuing to focus on doing it the right way.
Last question.